Even though I've been working on Inktober for the past 8 or 10 years, I feel like I am always unprepared whenever it comes around this time of the year, every single year. It's already October, we're already 5 days in, and Inktober is already something that feels quite hard to keep up with, especially when you have a full time job or a lot of commitments that you have to deal with compared to 8 or 10 years ago when I was just a student. Hi, hello everyone. My name is Taddy. If you don't know me or if you just stumbled upon this channel after years of not having seen me, I am a small artist here on YouTube and on all other social platforms, and I have been participating in Inktober, or should I say Cattober, for the past 4 or 5 days. And since I have all of these clips that I think are rather cool, I like watching them back and just see the process and the drawings come to life. I thought I would just put them into a longer video that can be a sketch with me or draw with me, listen to me yap while I talk about the characters and the challenge that I share with the lovely Candiii, my dear friend, as we kind of try to overcome Inktober. So, as I was saying, I have been participating in Inktober ever since I was a student. I don't remember if I actually started participating 10 years ago in 2015. I might have, but ever since then, I've had a lot of ups and downs with this challenge, particularly starting around 5 years ago in 2020 or 2021. I remember that there was a year where I wanted to participate, but the prompts were just really not doing it for me. And I remember that both Candiii and I participated in another challenge, which was made by our friend Zoe Mariner, and she had created a prompt list for Marianarach. And that same year, for October, we had decided to create our own list as well. And so I remember that when we made that list in October, it was mostly just for fun. It was because the Inktober prompts just weren't hitting. And so we decided to create our own prompts, and then we participated in hers as well. And so it sort of just became a tradition. We just decided to go ahead and create our own prompt list every year. And so this year, so the Cattober list that we've made together is a little bit of just a self-indulgent list. We've added words that we felt like were really close to the characters and the lore, such as the one that we used for this one that you're seeing right now. This is Day 1 Crimson, which we picked because it is literally the name, the last name of the character that you're seeing right now. His name is Alistair Crimson, as well as other ones that were a little bit more fun. One of them in particular I borrowed from the Inktober list, which was Mustache. We have a few characters with mustaches, and we always make fun of them in a very jolly and gentle way. So I was like, you know what, fine, we'll add that to the list. But all in all, I think that Inktober is a rather interesting challenge. It really puts things into places. I feel like people like me or any of you that are artists and that really wish to be artists but have other commitments or other jobs, such as, perhaps working in an office or working elsewhere, always have less time to create large-scale pieces with all the effects and elements that you wish to add. And so times like Inktober feel like they come with a lot of pressure. At least that's how I feel. Sometimes when there's prompts or specific little words and adjustments that you could use, you feel like you need to really show all of the lore and all of the elements that you could have in the character universe that you're using, or even just in the single illustrations, because you don't really have the time to do so at other times of the month or at other times of the year even. So I always take Inktober or any challenge that we do during October, in this case our challenge of Cattober, incredibly seriously. I take it to heart, and I really want to tell stories with each piece. Like, sometimes I wake up and I am not in the mood, especially after like a long day of work. Like, I work in a school, so sometimes I really don't feel up to sitting there and figuring out a composition or figuring out how to record said composition or how to have just the time to think of all the little nuances and how to shade and how to color. But then I realized just how satisfying it is to look at the picture once it's completed. So it is a very interesting back and forth that happens in my head. As per the pictures, I'm going to talk a little bit about the first and the second day because you're seeing them. The first day, like I said, was featuring our character, mine and Candii's character, Alistair Crimson. He goes by the alias of Scarlet Cardinal, and he is from a story and a universe known as the Town of Vogel. Perhaps maybe some of you might remember it if you are like, very faithful viewers of the channel. But he is a criminal. I suppose we would have to call him with what he is. He's a criminal, but he is more of a vigilante type of criminal. His name is, of course, related to the type of color that he has, mainly in his color scheme of all the reds, because in the town of Vogel, a lot of things are usually based off of birds or colors and birds associated with those colors. And of course, his main color is red, and he's the primary color of red. And I would say that he is considered amongst the people of Vogel to be almost like a king. They don't have a monarchy in place in Vogel. There's no royalty. But it's just that because of the name he's made for himself in the streets, that sounds really funny to say, in the streets, but because of the name he's made for himself amongst the population, he is known as the King of Vogel. And of course, his lovely and loving wife, Noir, is the Queen of Vogel instead. And she is, of course, designed by Candiii. And you can see her on her shorts as well, because her picture goes along with my own. Whereas for the second day that you're seeing right now, the prompt was flower. And the characters that you're seeing right now are the god characters, Aristeas and Danaeus. For this one, I already felt like I was messing it up a little, like it wasn't as striking as the first one. But again, what I'm trying to convey with Inktober in general is not so much the stark difference in the picture, but more so the narration that I want behind each picture, and I feel like I did a good job with that. At least I am thinking ahead of myself, and I'm trying to structure these pictures and images as if they were illustrations in novels, because that's what we would like to do with most of the stories, turn them into novels with very beautiful illustrations. So I'm trying my hardest to get better at this. And as you can see, I wanted to create a scene that mostly showed Aristeas' devotion to his beloved Danaeus. And what's really cute about this picture, I feel like, is the flowers in his hand are pink flowers. I didn't look up any specific flowers, and usually, considering how incredibly annoying I am, I always feel like I have to be in control of everything, including knowing every single type of flower and blade of grass that they are walking on whenever I create stories, because I do that even in my everyday life. I am extremely controlling of all the information that I use. I decided to just draw a very generic flower because I wanted to portray the idea of him turning whatever flower he's picked up into pink, because part of the lore between these two characters is that the god of the sun, Aristeas, that I am filling in right now in the video, is actually responsible for the creation of the color pink, which he created specifically for his beloved Danaeus, who is instead the god of the moon. So it goes without saying that I wanted to have that type of energy, that type of vibe, that he basically can take whatever flower he's holding and turn it into pink, just so that his beloved can have a pink flower. And I believe it to be a really cute choice. Like, I do think that it was a really cute idea to have that sort of devotional addition to this picture. But overall, I struggled quite a bit also to find the right shade for the statue, and the sky was pretty easy to color. I do enjoy creating backgrounds, and particularly skies. Sometimes I kind of just add these in because they're a little bit easier and they give me a little bit of a break from the other parts and bits of the compositions. But I do think that the picture overall isn't bad, so that's a plus. Overall, though, talking about Inktober as a whole, as I was saying, it's been a while since we actually took the time to complete Inktober. I feel like ever since 2023, we've been trying to complete it wholly. In the years that came before that, especially 2021, 2022, I think that a lot of artists perhaps haven't really come to terms with the effect and the after effect of the pandemic in 2020. I feel like in 2020 and 2021, like the beginning, we were all just kind of trying to act like everything was normal. But I feel like the emotional state and the mental state that we were all in kind of influenced our art as well as the challenges and everything that we were doing. So I do remember really struggling in 2021 and 2022. Particularly, I think that 2021, I still did it. I did it every year without fail, but I stopped earlier in some years compared to other years. And definitely, I remember 2021 being one of the years where I ended up stopping Inktober earlier. And I think that Candiii did the same because I pulled out of it basically. And then 2022, we ended up doing like 2 weeks out of 4 for the same reason, because it was just really taking a toll on both of us. And I will admit, particularly on me. Whereas 2023, we did the entire thing and it was really fun. There are some pieces that I still cherish from 2023 that I might even repurpose in this year's or in any other form. And last year's was actually a lot of fun. It was the first year that I tried to experiment with short content. So here on YouTube and on other platforms, I posted shorts and all of the videos that I had, all of the data that I had basically, and it was really fun. I really quite enjoyed it, and I ended up having a daily streak of posting on the other platforms, which I think is really cute. I like seeing all of the little posts and animatics and drawings that I have been posting. It gives me a lot of motivation for some reason, even though some of them do take a while to be put together, like to be placed there together. But in general, it is a very, very, very nice display. It's almost as if you're kind of looking at the result of the work that you've been heading towards for most of your late youth. Like when I was a teenager, I really wanted to show more of the characters and of the art that I was making, and so it is particularly interesting to see it come to life later on throughout these years instead. And now we're actually moving on to day 3, I think, onto the video. I was sketching day 3. This one was a nightmare. This was the bane of my existence, particularly for the background. This one was glass. So the characters you're seeing are Emperor Aram Nassar of Ravnadath and his wife, Empress Nadini of Shasan. These two are royal characters and they are very much in love with each other. They are a lovely couple. I really like them. But what is typical of Shasan, so of her kingdom, or should I say her empire, it's not necessarily a kingdom, is the art of stained glass. And for this very reason, I wanted to show off the stained glass work that they do in the palace by inserting it behind them as a background. As you can see, I draw most of my pictures traditionally first, and then I will upload them on my computer and color them with my mouse on Fire Alpaca. But of course, because of this, I don't really have all of the layers that you would have in a digital software, and for that very reason, I have been experimenting with something new this year for Inktober, Cattober, OC-tober, whatever tober you want to refer to. I have been putting the backgrounds or the outer parts of the picture, I will separate them by layers. There is, because I sketched it for today's as well, day 5, I have sketched various layers on various pieces of paper. So I will do the figure, which isn't necessarily the focus every time, but in this case it is the focus, the two of them. And then I will sketch the background on a plain piece of paper instead, and then I will put them together through the Fire Alpaca software instead. So I will go in, and I think it's about to happen right now. I will put the figure where I need it to go, and then I will place it exactly on the canvas where it needs to be. And then I will place a background that I have drawn on a separate piece of paper instead. And for both day 3 and day 4, I only drew half of the background. So in that way, I could then mirror it and have it be as symmetrical as possible. I have a very hard time with like lefts and rights and like symmetry when it comes to like lefts and rights and these types of decorations. So it's not perfect. I am aware of the fact that it's not perfect, but it works, and I am not as talented as the stained glass artists that are in Shazan. I am well aware of this, but I never claimed to be. So I suppose I am fine with that. I can be forgiven. Overall, this particular picture wasn't too hard to do other than sketching the stained glass part. Oh, but I will say I had a hard time color coding and selecting colors for the stained glass part. It's really hard to find a good reference of stained glass that isn't just particularly or meticulously detailed, which is, of course, the nature of the beauty of that type of art, but it really wasn't what I was trying to go for. I wanted it just to be a normal window, one that is decorated but only slightly comparatively to all of the other pieces of stained glass that you would normally see, say in a cathedral or anywhere else. So I wanted it to be pretty, but still remain in the normality of the typical stained glass that you would see in their palace, because of course the Imperial Palace in Shazan, as Candiii has told me, because she's been working on the lore for Shazan, is covered in these wonderful pieces of stained glass, so pieces of artwork that are just kind of there. So they keep these incredibly beautifully handcrafted pieces of artwork as just pieces of interior decor, I should say. They are not the stained glass that you would see into, again, a place of worship or elsewhere, which of course they still have, but they are crafted in a different way and they are different compared to the one that I was trying to draw. Overall, I do like this picture. I think that it came out pretty well. I do believe that I could have perhaps done something more even with the contrast, but again, I haven't been trying to go for that type of aspect. I've been trying to have more narration-based pieces, and that's pretty much my goal for the entirety of this challenge. And once again, and I will repeat this because I feel like it's very true, I really love these two characters together, but would I have drawn them in a traditional setting, sort of like dance, swirling, looking at each other longingly like this, had it not been for the Inktober prompt? Probably not. And it's not necessarily because I don't like the characters. Of course, I adore them. They are my children, my pride and joy. But it's mostly just because you really don't think of it. Like we spend most days when we're drawing, just kind of drawing whatever it is that comes to our mind. And when it's not that, we kind of just draw little scenes that come natural to us. I'm looking at all of you that, much like me, will draw a 3/4 view face of a female or a male character, or whatever character type you're more inclined to draw. Or if you're left-handed and you prefer the other way around, 3/4 view, you too, my friend. But I'm talking about that. Like, we always fall into what it is that is our comfort zone, I would say, which is totally normal. That's what humans tend to do. So I do enjoy, and I am grateful for these types of challenges to push me out of this comfort zone, because it is something that I wouldn't have done without it, even though I really like these two characters. I feel like I also forget about the factor of time when a challenge like Inktober comes around. For example, of course, like I said, I am a working person, so I have commitments and I have to wake up at a certain time and do certain things. And ideally, in order to do that, you'd have to like sleep this amount of hours and do this and do that and, be extremely organized. And while I do believe that I am a pretty organized person, I really forget to look at the clock when it's time to work on Inktober pieces. I think that most of these I started coloring well past 9 or 10 even. Like I finished them past 11. All of them have been completed past 11, I would say, or like very shortly before that. And that's also because, of course, my workday finishes at like 6. So give or take, I will have that hour to set up a little and then sit down at the desk to draw the pictures and color them, which that in itself is completely different than when you're just drawing for fun, where if you don't feel like doing it, you don't have to. But of course, always doing things based on how we feel like is not necessarily the best approach to being productive. But I also do realize that drawing and artwork shouldn't always be about whether or not you want to be productive or not. It is a very difficult mindset to get into and to get out of. As per the drawing part daily, I have been drawing daily. But for example, the month of September was an absolute nightmare between the start of school again and having all of the documents ready and have all of the things that one needs to do. It's probably the month in which I have drawn less. And Inktober instead, I'm going to say Inktober instead of October for the rest of this video, which is just a yap session at this point. So I hope that if anyone even watches it, will enjoy it. It's just that time of the year where you can step back and actually look at the things that you want to do and you want to draw. Like, you don't really have a reason to sit down and draw a big picture every day, especially with all of the commitments that one has, like we were saying. So every day in September, I have been tired, of course, and so I was like, well, I will not be drawing today. But the same could be said for October. If anything, I have a lot more commitments this month and a lot more things to do and look forward to. But I am still putting in all of the effort that I am putting in for each picture because that's what I want to do. And I think that it's also a little bit of act of self-care for yourself if you're an artist, to just allow yourself to draw the pictures that you want to draw and make your characters just look pretty and have illustrations for your world and your world building and everything in between. It's just a nice, satisfactory thing that happens, and I feel like it doesn't really get enough credit in that response. Besides, I also know that a lot of people don't take Inktober or OCtober that seriously. Like, I do know that there's plenty of people that draw for it in the way that it originally was intended to, which is just a pot of ink and, a drawing that one wants to do. So it's taken very literally, and that's not to say, I'm not saying this is a diss to anyone. It's just that people like me, who don't really have the time to put a lot of effort every day into drawing big pictures, then end up doing the opposite. So we will jump on the bandwagon and draw very intricate and detailed illustrations on a large scale, because all of these are pretty big canvases, and will pour all of their creativity into these types of pieces instead. But I do believe that it is a good thing, because from last year's Inktober or Cattober, I actually made a zine and I made an art book out of it. And I will say it is incredibly satisfying to see all of your pictures put together into a little booklet. Maybe I'll put a little video of the booklet up here or something. I do have some images from it. And I would like to do the same with this year's Cattober. I would like to put it all together with all of the prompts and imageries, and maybe like add a little bit of text with the stories that are featured in the booklet. I don't think anybody would be interested in it, but manifestation is the first step to success. So if I am interested in it for myself, then that's the way to go, right? It's like it's I make it for myself, and eventually other people will be interested in it. And now onto day 4, which was yesterday's. This one actually features Princess Hildegard of Halera and her father, King Tarahanis. Actually, it's quite funny because this picture and the one before featuring Armin Palavini are both set into a realm and a universe known as Esmerin. And the best way I can describe our character universe, or like Candiii and I's character world, is that it is basically a universe in the sense that there are various realms within it. And even though they aren't necessarily planets, I would say that various stories are all on different planets. It's more so shaped as if it were a plane, and there are different planes of existence within that very universe, if that makes any sense. But for the sake of it being simpler, even for me, whenever I am doing encyclopedia type of, putting catalogs of all the character informations, I'll just say that it's almost like various realms, aka various planets. And so far from what we've seen, Vogel is in one realm, and the second one with Aristeas and Danaeus is in another realm, and this one you're seeing right now with Idil and her father is in another realm together with Aram and Palavini, even though they all come from 3 different countries that are, of course, within the world. Maybe I'll put the map if I have it on hand here at this point. Not that it really matters, but that's how it is organized. And of course, like I was saying, all of this to say that she is the princess of Halera, but she is not the crown princess of Halera, since that title belongs to her brother, who is the crown prince, and their kingdom, Halera, is actually based and formed around male primogeniture. So he is going to get the throne and a title, regardless of the fact that she was born before him, and she is naturally, logically, the elder sibling. However, we did want to have different views of politics and versions of this type of issue in Esmerin, especially because Esmerin itself is a realm that has various countries in them, and these countries are ran mostly by either monarchs or emperors, so kings or emperors or elected kings, which is a whole other can of worms to open. But there are also other installments like republics or kingdoms that are, controlled by kings but have a really heavy council that usually influences decisions, and all of these other very nice assets. And this is my fault. I take full blame for this because both in Esmerin, that was actually a realm originally designed by Candiii, and in Dome, which is another realm that is actually somewhat related to Vogel, I kind of allowed myself to go completely crazy with my historical brain, like my historical junkie brain, and I decided to add as many assets and as many ideas as possible. I do really enjoy playing around with creating worlds and stories and lores and languages and so many things for characters, just because I am a big fan of world building, and it may be because I am actually a linguist. That is what I graduated in, linguistics and language studies, and that really puts me into the mood to have all of these little elements that collide and go into the creation of fictional worlds, and of, not that I don't really consider these worlds to be fictional in my head. They are all, of course, real people. Again, they're my children, but for the sake of a better word, fictional languages, I should say, because nobody else speaks them. But I love to create alphabets, and I love to create languages based on the social and sociopolitical assets of a particular kingdom, with some of the elements that are based off of the linguistics and all the studies that we have in our world, and languages with cases, languages without cases, languages with various genders, languages with no genders, languages with an alphabetical type of thing versus those that don't have it and use ideograms or symbols, all of these elements. And that also bleeds into, like I was saying, the entirety of my interest for history and creating dynasties and creating all of these various things, which just is right up my alley with both Esmeralda and all of the other stories that we have. Because, for example, again, Esmeralda, in this realm, there are royal houses and royal families, as well as places that don't have royal families, but of course have very important councils. And then there are other worlds like the ones in Dome that have all sorts of political issues happening. And I also think it's really important to create stories that mirror what it is that happens in our world, whether it is what happens in our own countries or elsewhere, in order to have a clear idea that as artists, we are all aware of what happens and what we can and cannot do to help the people around us and to help the people that are far away from us as well. I think it's important as a little thing. So, but back to the picture. What is happening exactly? And what even was the prompt? The prompt for this day was weapon. And I wanted to draw Idol because I wanted to show her as both a princess who is receiving the weapon of her country and of her people. So right now we have the sword of Hailera that her father is handing her, thus taking her hand and escorting her into the world of adulthood, because this is supposed to be a coming of age ceremony, as well as the fact that she is going to become the weapon of their kingdom because she is particularly gifted and skilled in combat, and she wishes to protect her people and the kingdom. And so she becomes captain of the royal guards of their army. This is not necessarily typical. It's more of a favor that is granted to her by her father because he sees that she is actually rather skilled. Because, like I said, unfortunately, I think that Hailera is a beautiful kingdom, but it does have some civil type of issues that need to be addressed, particularly towards women and as well as just in general towards all people, because Hildegard's younger brother Terence, he is an amazing young man, but he is unfortunately plagued with a curse that runs in their family line, and he doesn't wish to become king. However, they are basically forcing him to become king regardless of his desire because he is the heir, no matter how it is that he feels about it. So of course, while Idol, her position is that of a person who is being forced not to take the throne, even though it would be good for her to be the one in charge, since she is very much inclined to govern and to take care of the kingdom affairs. The same can be said for her brother, who is forced in the same way to become king when he just wishes to live a calm and happy life in order to avoid the curse worsening. So, I think Hailera is one of the more is one of the ancient kingdoms in Esmeralda, but especially in the eastern continent. But I do believe that they have to face some internal issues. They don't have any dynastic problems or any of those things. I think that they are pretty chill in that regard. But there are some internal problems that are related to their older laws, such as the succession laws, that should probably be addressed. And who knows, maybe eventually all of these little tidbits that I am talking about are going to be part of these very novels that we wish to write. Who knows? I don't know. Again, manifesting. But I feel like I've talked enough for this entire thing, for this entire video. I will say, since it is an art channel, and I mean, it is an art channel that I run, so it can just be a channel where I talk about all of my impressions about artwork and all of that. But this particular day was hard to complete, mostly because I wanted to use their house colors, of course, as would be typical. And their house color is basically white with this very light cobalty blue. But that also meant that the area behind them of the throne, and the walls would all be in this shade of blue, and everything was kind of becoming a little bit too blue. I didn't know how to solve this issue at first, so I decided to change the color of the wall, just change the entire asset of the background in order to create a little bit more contrast. And then, since this was probably a ceremony held during the daytime rather than an evening event, I decided to give it a warm light instead of a cold light to kind of contrast with all of the blue that you can see in the picture, which I think was kind of a good idea, and it brought out some of the accent colors that I had used, like the gold for the throne, which I was hoping to kind of match with her hair, because she has this like light brown hair that I was like, oh yes, this is definitely going to go really well with the gold of the throne. I don't think that I did a great job with that. I don't think that it's actually that matching, but an attempt was made. And I think that to have a picture like this, where there are all of these details and elements that are related to the story, compared to all of the pictures that I usually don't draw and that stay in my head, is a big step ahead. I feel like it really shows that I am trying. Regardless of this, we're almost coming to the end of this video. This is almost like a podcast or something. You guys should let me know, if anybody watches this, if you even want any other videos like this. Again, I have the footage and I would like to bring more videos to this channel. I have so many sketchbooks to show, and I always get so happy whenever people look at them and they leave me nice comments. Or the other time somebody said, oh, I remembered your channel from like 10 years ago and you inspired me to draw, or whatever. Like, all of these types of comments are just so sweet, and they make me feel so much joy. I do have a very crazy busy life at the moment, but I would like to come back and do longer form videos. Like I said, I've been doing a lot of short content, so if you want to come and like say hello, I would love to have you, and I would love to see you. I understand that, of course, short content is always perhaps a little bit easier to make, although that's like relatively said, because I take a long time on my shorts as well. But I'm hoping that by the end of the year, hopefully after November, after the first 10 days of November, I'll be able to be a little bit more consistent. But again, there are so many sketchbooks I want to share, so many character lore things, so many little speed paints that could be done. And I know that, obviously YouTube is not my main platform. I'm not going to sit here and lie about it, but I do believe that it's very nice to be able to just talk freely about all of the characters and all of the things that have been going on. So perhaps by the end of this challenge, I will be back here again with a voiceover, and I would be telling you more about each picture. I don't think I'll be doing this type of video weekly for Inktober. I think that, this is just a test run, but it would be nice to do more than one. I'm going to be honest. It would be nice to do more than one if I have time on another Sunday. Today was kind of a reset day for me. So even though I had a lot of things to finish and complete, I was like, you know what? No, I have the footage. I have it already there in my computer. I might as well just go on ahead and record a voiceover. So what the heck? And that is all I think I can really say for now. I hope that you guys are having fun while doing Inktober. I hope that you are enjoying your art challenge, whatever it is. I hope that you are finding peace in creating work of your characters, of your subjects, whatever it is that you're choosing to draw, even if it's not necessarily characters or stories. I hope that you are safe. I hope that you are in an environment that allows you to create, and that's always something that we should be thankful for, and sometimes I feel like we tend to take that for granted. So I hope that you are all safe. I hope you're all having a great day, And in general, I hope that this video kept you company. Maybe it inspired you to go draw something. Maybe it inspired you to go and create some characters or whatever it is that you could have taken from this. I am going to leave this last few minutes to music instead. And I hope that all of you are having a great, amazing time. And if you stop by once again, I will be happy to see you. If you want to head over to my other profiles, which are mentioned in this video and on the screen, you can come and follow me and watch the rest of the journey until the end of October to see what pictures I come up with. I hope you have a great day, and I am sending you a big kiss. Goodbye for now.